Hi guys, you truly don't know how sad I feel because I was recording this video for I don't know how much it lasted. I guess like 15-20 minutes, and I found out that I was speaking alone because it wasn't on. I mean, the recording option wasn't on. I wasn't recording the screen. And I got really mad, but again, then again, I'm gonna do it because I guess it is the easiest way for me to make sure that you are gonna review whatever thing you don't understand, and you have the option of going backwards and then taking notes, or just like, oh yeah, I have this doubt, let me go back in the video, etc. And just as yesterday that I did a quiz to you about the things that happen in my video, i'm gonna I'm gonna be throwing certain cues or like clues about the things that I'm gonna ask, so pay attention. Okay, I'm so mad because in the last video I was like recording, and then my cell phone, without been expected, started to talk. Well, Siri started to say like, I don't know what you're missing, blah blah blah, but I didn't activate it. I didn't activate it. So I was really mad, and then I was like, what happened? And then I thought like, okay, that could be a good question for me to know whether you watched the video or not. Anyway, let's forget about that and let's start. Yeah, this is a review. This is the second part, and we're gonna review 4 more topics, okay, or 4 more little parts of the things that are gonna come in your partial quiz. Let's start with number 1. It says converting numbers to decimals and ordering them. If you see, certain things are erased, but that is because I had to erase every note that I took. So let's start. Yeah. The first exercise was something you saw before going on vacation, and I want you to try to remember the rules that will apply. Okay, we're gonna start by converting percentages into decimals. Okay, we're gonna convert 500% into a decimal. We are gonna change 9% into a decimal, and then 23.5% into a decimal. Okay, for each of them, all these three, you are gonna apply the same rule. Okay, if let me tell you first, like, I already mentioned that 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, but my way to do it, or the hack that I recommended you to use, was to move the decimal point every time you want to change a percentage into a decimal. You move the point 2 times, and I said, why do you move it 2 times? Because think of the 100. How many zeros does the 100 have? It has 1 and 2. And I said to you, like, so think of those 2 zeros and always move the decimal point 2 times, because that is the amount of zeros that 100 have. But the actual explanation for this will be, if you divide 500 by 100, because it is the percent. Remember, the word says it all. It says percentage. So percent per 100. If you do that, you're gonna be given a result of 5. But instead of having to divide, I recommend you to just move the decimal point 2 times, and it will give you the same result. When you don't see a decimal point, it should always be here. So I just move it 1 and 2 times, and then I place the decimal point there. And then 500% converted into a decimal will be 5.00, or just 5. That is exactly the same. Okay, and the same rule applies to the next one. You have a 9%. You just move the decimal point 2 times, 1 and 2. You place the decimal point there, and you fill that space with a 0. So that means 9% will be 0.09. Okay, and that is it, the only option. Then the next one, 23.5. Let me tell you something, my favorite number in the word is 23. That is the reason why I wrote it there, okay? If I want to change 23.5% into a decimal, I know, again, that I need to move the decimal point 2 times. It doesn't matter that you have a percentage with decimals. You apply the same process. 1 and 2, and my decimal point now stays here. So 23.5% will be exactly the same as 0.23 and that is not a 3. 0.23 and 5, okay? And then you're done. That is the easiest way to convert percentages into decimals. I hope that is clear. Now, let's change fractions into decimals. You have 1/4. You have 7/100 and 23/100, okay? With the last two, you won't have a hard time. Why? Because you apply the exact same rule that you apply in the last exercise. How many zeros does 100 have? 1 and 2. So I just move the decimal point 1 and 2 times. I fill with a 0. I place the decimal point. And 7/100 will be the same as 0.07. And then you do the same with this one, and it will be like 1 and 2. So it will be equals to 0.23. Yeah? But what's going to happen with the first one? Well, the way that I'm going to solve the first one, 1/4, can also be applied for these two. You can also apply the same rule. The rule that I'm going to say is dividing. You can divide this by this, and it will give you the same result. But I am like, why would you divide if you can solve it easier and faster, more efficiently, okay? So in the first one, I cannot do that because it is not over 100, over 1,000, over 1 million. It doesn't have any zeros. So what you have to do whenever you want to change a fraction into a decimal, that is the only option, well, one of the options, because it's not the only one. One of the options that you can use is divide. You just divide the fraction. The one goes inside of the house, always, the numerator always goes inside of the house. And then, this division, and then the 4 goes outside. And then you start dividing. I know for sure that 4 does not fit in 1. I place the decimal point, I add a 0, and then I say how many times does 4 fit in 10. That will give me 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 minus 10 is 2. I add another 0 because I already have the decimal point, and I say how many times does 4 fit in 20, and that is 5. That means that 1/4 change into a decimal will be 0.25. And that will be it, guys. Not hard, right? You just need to remember that you need to move the decimal point 2 times whenever you are converting percentages into decimals. And whenever you have fractions such as this one, what you have to do is divide. Now, the next step says order them. Even though I can count that as a must, like you must not know this, I still see that you have troubles ordering numbers from least to the greatest or greatest to the least is the same. Oh gosh, my screen froze. Well, the app froze. I'm gonna close it. I'm not gonna record it again, so let's wait for it to work. And I'm gonna open it again. Wait a minute. Let's just wait a minute. And then I'm going to order the numbers once it is open. I'm gonna order the numbers from the greatest to the least, okay? And I'm gonna apply a rule, or like I'm gonna do it as if I was in 4th grade, 3rd grade, which is writing all the numbers, ordering them, and then decided which one is bigger, okay? Let me do that. I'm gonna write all the decimals that we got here. The first one was 5.00, then you had 0.09, then you have 0.235, and then 0.25, and then 0.07, and then 0.23. I just copied the answers that we got, okay? You're gonna have to do that in the exam. And now it is my time to order them from the greatest, remember, greatest to least, okay? Greatest, I add an O, greatest to least, okay? Okay, a lot of technical issues, but that is fine. What you can do if you are having trouble with this is comparing each column of the numbers. Look at the first column. None of these numbers except for the first one have a whole number. So that means, of course, this is the greatest one. So that is my first one because it's the greatest. And then I compare, let me move it. I'm gonna compare, how do I move this? Like this. I'm gonna compare the second column, okay? Just look at it. You have 2, 2, and 2. I can say, of course, that these three are gonna be either in the next places. To know which one is gonna be next, I need to move this and now compare the third column, okay? You have a 3, you have a 5, and you have another 3. By now, I know that the next one will be this one. This is the second one, okay? First one was 5.00, now it is 0.25. And then I just compare the last column, and I know that this 23 does not have a number, but it is like if it was a 0. So then compare the last column. Of course, 5 is more than 0. So it is the 3, the third place. The third place. And then I can go back and I say, oh no, well, this is the fourth one. And now you just compare the last two numbers that you have. You have 0.09 and you have 0.07. I know this is greater. So this is number 5 and this is number 6. And I just arrange them from the greatest to the least, okay? Remember this thing that I do that was adding zeros, it does not change a number. I can add another 0 here or another 0 here or another 0 here, and that does not change the number, okay? And then let's move on to the next part. The next part of the topic is one of the, I guess, one of the tough topics that you've seen before, because it is tough, because you got confused on how to arrange the things in the proportion or in the rule of 3, and I don't want that to happen again, so please pay attention, okay? Let's see the number 2, which is the first part of it. It says, find the percent of a number. Just like that, find the percent of a number. And it says, I want to know how much is 45% of 90. If you go back to the image that I sent you before, it says, finding a percent. And then I gave you the exact same example with different numbers, but the exact order of the question. And it says 50% of 180. And you have step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1. Convert the percent into a decimal. You know how to do that. Then step number 2, you just multiply. Step number 3, get the result. Let's apply that into our example. Okay. It says how much is 45 of 90. And then the first step said change the percent into a decimal. So I just do it 0.45. Okay. Second step was multiply. Let me multiply 0.45 times 90. I don't need to add this 0. To multiply. I put it here, and then I can start 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 4 is 40. Okay? And then, how many decimals did I have? 1 and 2. That is the reason why I moved the point 2 times. And then my answer will be 40.50. Okay, that is my answer. That is the way you solve one of this. Now, second part. It says, oops, I erased it before whenever I was angry because I had not been recording everything that I said. Would say percent. Okay. It says, find the percent. It is similar. The instruction is similar than the last one, but the questions are not the same. If you see, you have two questions, but those questions are exactly the same. The only difference is that the words were rearranged in the second part. So let's read the first one. It says, 80 is what percent of 400? If you remember what I mentioned is that word, the word of, is going to give us a clue on how much, on what is the total, okay, the total. And then you have the same question but written differently. It says what percent of 400 is 80. If you see, those are the exact same words but they are arranged different. So you just go to the second column because I see that the questions are similar, and then you follow the steps, okay? The first step was create a proportion, or like create the rule of 3, and I'm gonna do it through a chart. And my chart is gonna be like this. Here I'm gonna write the percentages, and here I'm gonna write the numbers. I always need to find the 100%, and then I say, how much is here the total? Okay, what is the total? And I know the word of comes next to 400. That means all this is the total of 400. That means the 100 is 400. Then you have two more spaces, and you need to arrange this number in that chart. 80. Does 80 have this sign here? No, right? Does it have the word percent next to it, like here, 80%, blah, blah, blah? No, right? That means that 80 is not a percentage. It is a number. And as it is a number, I'm going to write it here in the column of the numbers. So 80. And I need to find the percent. In fact, that is the question, what percent? So my question mark goes here. Now, I need to apply the cross products or the rule of 3. And you start by multiplying 80 times 100. And that gives me 8,000, okay? Then, you divide that by 400. The result of that multiplication will go inside of the division. And then I apply whatever I explained you before. I can delete the zeros. If I delete 2 zeros outside of the division, I need to do it again also with the number inside of the division. And then you start dividing it. How many times does 4 fit in 8? 2. And you are left with 0. You put down the other 0. How many times does 4 fit in 0? Well, 0. So then, blah, blah, blah is what percent of blah, blah, blah? 20%. Last part of it. It says, find the total of a number. Okay? It says, 40% of what number is 25? Of course, you know the column that you're gonna use is the last one. It says, find a number. And it has the page when you can find that topic. So, you're gonna solve it the same way that you started solving the last one, which is creating a chart. I write here the percentages, I write here the numbers. I need to find the 100%. If you start from left to right of the question, you see that you have a 40% here, and it has the sign of percentage. That means you're gonna place that 40 on the side, on the column of the percentages. So it goes here. Then, it says, of what number? If you remember what I mentioned before, I said that the word of gives us a clue on how much is the 100, the total. So next to the word of says what number. Do you know how much is what number? I mean, what number is what number? Okay. Do you know how much is the 100? No, I don't know it because the word of comes next to the question. What number? So that means I don't know the 100%. And then you have a 25. And you only have one space left. Apart from that, you see that you just have a 25. It is a number. It's not a percentage. That is the reason why you write it here. So just write it down. And then you start with the rule of 3. You start multiplying. 25 times 100 is 2,500. And then you divide that by 40. you apply that thing of the zeros, you can delete 1 0 here and 1 0 here, because that is the amount of zeros that it seems to be that it coincides. And then I just start dividing. How many times does 4 fit in 25? It fits 6, because 4 times 6 is 24. To reach 25 is 1. Then you put down the 0. It is a 10. How many times does 4 fit in 10? It fits 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 to get into 10 is 2. But you are not done, guys. You need to get decimals. Whenever you have the chance to get it, do it. Only 1 decimal, okay? So point, and then you add a 0. How many times does 4 fit in 20? It fits 5, because 5 times 4 is 20. 20 to get into 20, 0. That means that my answer is 62.5. That was the number, and then you're done.